Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison LaGrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison LaGrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. U.S. presidential candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump meet for the first time in a fierce face-off as immigration and abortion remain hot topics during the debate. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Britain's Foreign Secretary David Lammy visit Kiev in a show of support for Ukraine as Zelensky pushes to use long-range weapons inside Russia. Thousands evacuated in Vietnam's capital Hanoi as the swollen Red River floods streets days after Typhoon Yagi battered the country's north, leaving 152 dead. ANC-led coalition lands in trouble as the Democratic Alliance warns President Cyril Ramaphosa over an education bill that it says, if approved, will threaten the future of the unity government. And angry protesters break into Mexico's Senate as lawmakers approve a controversial judicial reform, which critics say strengthens the powers of the ruling Morena party. Hello and welcome. We start with the latest from the Horn of Africa. Bounded by the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean, the region has a vast strategic and economic importance. Now, its unique location has attracted the interest of several foreign actors, from the US to China, but also several middle powers. One such actor is Turkey, which has been making significant strides and is deepening its involvement in the region. In the latest, Turkey is reportedly planning to build a site to test fire missiles and space rockets in Somalia, a country that sits on Africa's eastern tip. As per reports, Ankara and Mogadishu have held discussions regarding this plan. Now, Turkish officials say that they are optimistic that Somalia will agree to this project. However, both nations have not publicly confirmed the reports. But the sources close to the Turkish government have revealed that Ankara's ballistic missile program requires long-range testing, and Somalia's location allows firing toward the Indian Ocean, making it ideal for its plan. Turkey has been working on increasing the range of its domestically built Typhoon missiles from about 560 kilometers. Somalia is also a suitable site for a spaceport as it is close to the equator. Testing near the equator can also help to boost the range and efficiency of space rockets. Turkey has long sought to join the global space race and has been preparing for a rocket launch for several years. In 2021, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan announced an ambitious 10-year plan for his country's space program. Reports at the time also suggested that the program would require building a rocket launch site in Somalia. Now, reports said that Turkey would build a spaceport in Somalia as a part of a $1 billion plan to achieve a soft moon landing by the year 2028. The building and maintenance of such a port would cost around $350 million. Now, the latest reports highlight Turkey is making progress with its plan. It is one of the few foreign powers strengthening ties with Somalia. Now, Mogadishu already hosts Turkey's largest overseas military base. The two countries have also signed several agreements in the past months, including a defense and security cooperation agreement and an offshore energy cooperation deal. In July, the Turkish parliament also approved a presidential motion to allow the Turkish armed forces to send naval forces to Somalia for 2 years as a part of the joint defense agreement. Ankara has also built schools, hospitals and infrastructure and provided scholarships for Somalis to study in Turkey. On the diplomatic front, Ankara is mediating a dispute between Somalia and Ethiopia. Now, both the neighbors are locked in a dispute over a port deal that Ethiopia struck with Somalia's breakaway region, Somaliland. In exchange of the port, Ethiopia agreed officially to recognize Somaliland, a move that has angered Somalia. So be it diplomacy, infrastructure, defense, or people-to-people ties, Turkey is boosting its presence in the Horn of Africa. Observers believe that Ankara is also trying to replicate such a role in other African nations. Will middle powers like Turkey be able to make a big impact in Africa? And what larger geopolitical implications will it have? Now, for more on this, we have with us Yusuf Bilal, an expert on the Horn of Africa. He is joining us live from Rabat in Morocco. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for your invitation.
Now, what makes Somalia's location particularly advantageous for Turkey's missile and space rocket testing? And how might this impact the regional security dynamics?
Well, the location, as you pointed out in your report, is very much related to the strategic location of Somalia, linking the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal, and so on. So, it is also a kind of a continuation of the this new Turkish foreign policy that is inspired also by the history of the Ottoman Empire and Turkey as an inheritor of this projection of power by the Ottoman Empire. And also the strategic location is in Somalia is an advantage in the sense that it is one of the countries, 11 countries in the world that are located on the equator or near the equator, and which, in terms of launch of missile and other engines to the space air, is much more efficient because it's obviously at an equidistance between the north and the south. And the other component.
Please continue. Please continue. I think we lost you for a second there, Yusuf. Let me jump in with the next question. How could this project affect the economic and political relationship between Turkey and Somalia? And what are the potential benefits and possible drawbacks for both countries?
Yes. Well, it has. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the impact on the region and as what we call Turkey and other comparable countries as middle powers, and which makes Turkey one of the front runners in the game in the airspace. it certainly will have an impact on the region, whether all those countries that are competing for Indian Ocean and the Horn of Africa, whether the United Arab Emirates, whether Saudi Arabia, whether Egypt, and it makes Turkey as gaining a certain advantage. While it is still in discussion with Somalia, it is nevertheless part of a broader plan to gain strategic autonomy on the Turkish part. And we saw a few months ago that Turkey already built now the first Turkish fighter jet, and now is planning to build also one of the biggest aircraft carriers. So there is clearly a military use of it, and also a commercial use, because all those assets, including in the airspace and the military industry, Turkish military industry, the drones, we know the drones have been quite successful on the number of other countries. So Turkey will also be able to sell those services also and gain both a commercial and strategic advantage through this move, and which is part of a broader strategy of projection of power.
Right. And Yusuf, what are the reactions that we can expect from other countries, especially those in the Horn of Africa and the broader international community, regarding Turkey's plans to establish this test site?
Well, at the end of the day, it's a bilateral agreement that would be between Turkey and Somalia, and it is a sovereign decision on the federal Somali government. Now, Turkey has been de-escalating tensions with all the former rivals and the rift that we saw since the last 10 years or so, following the so-called Arab Spring in 2011, and we saw the last iteration of it was the Egyptian state visit to Turkey, and Turkey has been doing similar moves with Saudi Arabia, with UAE, which is a kind of a new iteration of this Turkish policy of zero problem with all the in the regional neighborhood and so on. So it has been actually preempting all kind of negative reaction, because precisely it needs the cooperation of all. And we saw it, for example, in this dispute between Ethiopia and Somalia, that Ankara, Turkey, was mediating precisely because it has both strategic assets in Ethiopia and Somalia in the whole region. So I would say it will not involve a direct reaction, hostile reaction, but it just shows that Turkey is being ahead of a number of competitors, and it makes its presence and its interest in stability in the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean even more important for Turkey to be able to have this policy as a sustainable policy. And for Somalia, obviously, there is a major interest given all the threats, the regional threats, and it secures this Turkish presence.
Fantastic. Yusuf, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa, for your valued insights and analysis there.
Welcome.
Shifting focus to Kenya now, chaotic scenes unfolded at Kenya's main airport in Nairobi as the staff went on a strike over a proposed deal with India's Adani Group. Now, hundreds of travellers were stranded at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, or the JKIA, in Nairobi due to a strike by workers that caused flight delays and cancellations for both departing and arriving passengers. Videos on social media showed hundreds of passengers queued up outside the JKIA's single terminal as the strike began earlier today. Dozens of aircraft workers were seen carrying posters, blowing trumpets and chanting slogans. The biggest union of Kenya's aviation workers has been opposing a proposed deal, for India's Adani Group to lease the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport for 30 years in exchange for a $1.85 billion investment. The Kenya Aviation Workers Union says that the proposed deal would lead to job losses and instead give opportunities to non-Kenyans. Critics also say the agreement will rob taxpayers of future profits. The Kenyan government has defended the deal as necessary to refurbish the JKIA. It says that the airport is operating above capacity and needs modernizing. Authorities say the Adani Group would add a second runway and upgrade the passenger terminal. Freight and passenger fees from the JKIA account for over 5% of Kenya's GDP. The JKIA is one of Africa's busiest hubs, handling 8.8 million passengers and 380,000 tons of cargo in 2022 to 23. But the airport is often hit by power outages and leaking roofs. And earlier this week, the Kenyan High Court blocked the proposal for Adani Group temporarily, arguing that the deal lacked transparency. The deal was challenged in court by the Kenya Human Rights Commission and the Law Society of Kenya. They argued that Kenya can independently raise the estimated $1.85 billion needed to expand the JKIA without leasing the airport for 30 years. Now, the court's decision allows time for a judicial review challenging the lease. And moving to Nigeria, wild animals from a zoo in Nigeria's Borno state have escaped after flooding. Parts of northern Nigeria have been witnessing devastating floods after a dam overflowed due to heavy rains. In Maiduguri, the capital of Borno state, more than 80% of the animals have been killed in the Sanda Kayarimi Zoo as they submerged in the floodwaters, while some of the animals, like snakes and crocodiles, have escaped from captivity. Zoo officials have not confirmed how many animals are free, but a hunt is on to locate them. Videos and some of the creatures, like ostriches and crocodiles, on the streets of Maiduguri have been widely shared on social media. Officials say that they have recaptured the ostrich, but were unable to reach the location of the crocodile due to the floods. Now, officials also informed that the cages where the lions and hyenas were kept had also been submerged by floodwaters, but they are unsure if these animals also escaped. However, some videos on social media show a lion running on the streets, creating panic among residents. And residents have been asked to be careful. The zoo boss explained that the flood had damaged some of its walls that enabled the animals to escape. The incident comes as thousands of homes have been affected by the rapid rise of waters after the dam collapse in Borno state. Nigeria's vice president visited the flood victims in the state capital and announced that food aid delivery is underway to the state for distribution. As per state authorities, in the last 3 to 4 days, over 150,000 individuals with over 23,000 households have been affected. State officials say that there have been deaths due to the incident, but declined to give a number. Now, floods have killed at least 229 people and displaced around 380,000 across Nigeria in a series of recent floods. The Borno state officials have been blaming unclear forecasts and climate change for the latest disaster. The state, which is the birthplace of the Islamist group Boko Haram, has also been grappling with an insurgency for the last 15 years. Thousands have been killed and displaced due to the extremism. Our final story today is from the Ivory Coast, where Aisha Kone, the 67-year-old diva of the West African nation, has gone from a freedom-fighting songbird to a full-fledged junta cheerleader. Once the voice of political liberation in West Africa, Kone is now serenading the military rulers of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. With over 500,000 TikTok followers hanging on her every note, she has swapped her anthem for freedom for a new tune, one that praises the alliance of Sahel. Our last report gets you all the details.
The world is divided over the junta rule, with some supporting it and others against it. But how long before things change? However, one person who has changed her stance is Aisha Kone, a famous singer from Ivory Coast. After more than 30 years of singing for political freedom, she is now praising the junta leaders. At 67, Kone isn't slowing down. She's got over 500,000 TikTok followers and is using her platform to support the military rulers of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. Her latest song celebrates the leaders of the Alliance of Sahel, or the AES, a defense pact formed after they took power in coups between 2020 and 2023. The song, with its catchy lyrics, calls the AES the March Towards Freedom. The music video even features a photo montage of these leaders.
They
were brave. It began in Mali, then Burkina Faso and Niger followed suit. It's not an issue related to love colonizers have for us Africans. It's an issue of interests. We too wanted to be able to follow our interests. In 2022, she also released a song praising Mali's armed forces, where she's also expressed her admiration for Russian President Vladimir Putin. This admiration isn't surprising, since the junta leaders turned to Russia after breaking ties with their former colonizer, France. Kone is no stranger to political power. In the 1970s, she started her career as a backup singer.
She's made a huge contribution to Ivorian music because when she started out, there weren't many people doing this kind of Mandinka West African music, you know? She was really one of the first to do so.
And then she worked her way up to become one of Africa's most iconic artists.
Elle le mérite d'être une diva.
She deserves to be a diva. When she sings, when she's on stage, she's majestic. You know about Mandinka music and Mandinka outfits. Well, they were outfits worn at court, imperial court outfits. So when Aisha is in her big bubu with her headdress, and when our kora and balafon players next to her and so on, it's fantastic.
During her days of glory, she met African music legends like Miriam Makeba and Youssou N'Dour. Kone's house is also proof that she has had long-standing ties with politicians. The artist has pictures with political leaders hung on the walls. She says that former Ivory Coast presidents Félix Houphouët-Boigny and Henri Konan Bedi have supported her financially. But now, instead of politicians in suits, it's military leaders in uniforms that have her attention. She calls Burkina Faso's 36-year-old president Ibrahim Traoré her son, praising him and the younger leaders for taking control of their future. She adds a rousing bravo for good measure, making it clear she's rooting for the young junta leaders like a proud mom at a school play. If the play involved seizing power in a coup, of course.
We all want to be independent. And these are young boys who have had the courage to put their heads above the parapet and state loud and clear that they want to take their destiny into their own hands. And I say bravo to them. It won't be easy, but they need support, and I'm one of them.
Despite her shift in support, Kone insists she's always sung for peace, even as she now supports military rulers. Sometimes in both politics and music, you have to change your tune, even if it means supporting a coup.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.